just went and watched the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And here today we're going to sit down and talk about this film. Hello everybody, my name is Kwestin Fisher. I am the Fish Flicks, and this is the Fish Flicks film reviews page. My very first one at that, the first one I'm uploading onto YouTube, so it's an honor to be amongst you all, and I'm very much appreciative of the fact that you're all sitting here watching this video with me today. Now, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, this is a very tough film to try and pull off, because in the real life, we lost our beloved brother, Chadwick Boseman. May he rest in peace, and may God be with his family. And that's a pretty big loss for this film, because he was the leading man. He was T'Challa. He was the Black Panther. So going into this film, it was always a question of, how could we possibly pull this film off without our leading guy, King T'Challa? And King T'Challa has passed away, unfortunately. And so Wakanda is in a state of loss, mourning, and grief. And all the while dealing with this loss, they're kind of in a lost state of mind in Wakanda and trying to figure out what's next for the nation. As they're dealing with all this, they're dealing with multiple threats coming their way, as the United Nations are coming their way, wanting access to vibranium. And in the film, they're dealing with a new antagonist brought into the film in Namor and the Talokans, as there was a device that was made in the film by a new character we are introduced to that puts the two nations into conflict with one another. And the Talokans are sitting there questioning whether Wakanda, it can be an ally or if they're an enemy. And that's where the film goes from there. And so with this film, we were always questioning, can they pull this off? How can Ryan Coogler pull this off? And as you saw throughout the making of this film, you know, after the passing of Chadwick Boseman, they did not push the film back even farther or anything like that, outside of, you know, MCU release changes due to like the pandemic or scheduling wise. This film stayed on track. So it was always a question to me of, you know, how can they pull this off? Were they prepared for this? Did Ryan Coogler know in advance that Chadwick Boseman was possibly passing away and he was preparing to write a script without him? So going into this, that was a big question in my mind. But I always had faith in Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman. That's how much he's on my mind, man. I love Chadwick Boseman as an actor. So we're questioning if Ryan Coogler is able to pull this film off without his leading man. And I can tell you right now, he absolutely does, as Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is a damn good film altogether. I really enjoyed the living hell out of this movie. This is a very emotional and heavy film from start to finish, and I absolutely enjoyed watching this film. This is a very lengthy film. This is a 2 hour and 41 minutes to be exact movie. So there's a lot of moving parts going on in this film. And it's the first thing that I want to talk about positive wise is a thing that was everybody was buzzing about after coming out of the red carpet premiere for this film. It was the performances. In particular, we'll start with Letitia Wright. Now, Letitia Wright as Shuri, she was a fan favorite character. After watching the first Black Panther, being the sister to King T'Challa, and her being established as the smartest woman in all of the MCU. And she was more of a side character in that first Black Panther movie. Now, as obviously we're dealing with the loss of Chadwick Boseman, she has to step up and fill those shoes. Letitia Wright brought her A game in this film. This is probably her best performance of her career to date. As you could tell, she really worked hard. This film meant a lot to her. You know, she probably felt that Chadwick Boseman was like a real life big brother to her. And you could really feel that. And she really brought an emotional, very heavy, great performance onto this role, carrying this film. Because the film is pretty much, this franchise of Black Panther is pretty much on her shoulders now. So this is her franchise moving forward, and she absolutely did a wonderful job in her performance as Shuri in this film. Now, the lead standout of this film that universally is agreed upon is Angela Bassett in this film. She was phenomenal in this movie. I've loved Angela Bassett as an actress for years, and I remember everybody knows that film that she absolutely stood out and killed it, and that's What's Love Got to Do with It. And she was nominated for an Oscar as the leading woman in that film. And I'm going to sit here and tell you all right here now in front of the camera that Angela Bassett deserves an Oscar for her performance in this movie. She was that damn good in this film. She brought a very powerful, very emotional aspects to her character in this film, because she's a mother that's dealing with the loss of her son, and now she has to step up and be the queen of Wakanda and lead this nation while mourning the loss of her own son and looking out for her own daughter as well. So her character, throughout the years, she's dealing with a lot, and you could tell she's carrying a lot in this film. Dating back to Captain America Civil War, King T'Chaka dies, her husband's gone. And now, in this film, at the very beginning, we learn she loses her own son, the King of Wakanda, T'Challa. So now she has to step up and fill in those shoes. And you could tell Angela Bassett that she really wanted to cherish and take care of this role in this film and really bring her A game, because just in one of the scenes that you see in the trailers alone, when she walks into that courtroom and in the meeting of the United Nations, there's just a presence about her that just stands out. As you just feel just strength and raw power as soon as she walks in the room. And you could just feel her presence as she brings it, man. And she was just absolutely phenomenal in this movie. I cannot stress this enough, that I could sing her praises all day about this film. And Lupita Nyong'o, we see her character again. She's great in the film. Winston Duke as M'Baku, he was one of my favorites of the original Black Panther movie. He was great in the movie, though we don't really see a lot of him in this movie. I feel like we see more of him in the first Black Panther than we do in this film. And he's really one of my favorite characters of this franchise, so I was really hoping we saw more of him in this film. And going forward with the direction of this franchise and the MCU as a whole, I really do hope we could see more of him throughout this franchise, and that he can be one of the leading standouts of this film, carrying this franchise moving forward. So he was great. A new character, our antagonist of the film that we are introduced to as well, in Namor, is introduced. Played by Tenoch Huerta. I hope I pronounced his first name right. But he was great in this film as well. His character as a whole, he's a very interesting character. Now, I wasn't the biggest comic book guy growing up. I'll be honest, like, I wasn't really necessarily allowed to in a way, but I'm not going to get too crazy into that. But I don't know too much about the character of Namor, but what I do know is that he's more of that anti-hero line. Like, he's like split right down in the middle. Like, in some aspects, if he needs to be a full-on villain to protect his cause, he can be. If he needs to be a hero, he can be as well, because he has, in the comic books, he's part of the Illuminati. So he's like right down split in the middle. And so his character in this film, understanding his motivations and everything about him, you understand some of the decisions that he makes in the film to an extent. And I say to an extent for a reason, which I'll get into once we start talking about some of the negatives of this film. But overall, I thought he was great in the film. I cannot wait to see more of the direction of his character moving forward in the MCU as a whole, and when's the next time we're going to see him in the MCU. Another positive I want to jump into right now is Ryan Coogler as the director. Ryan Coogler, man, he absolutely has zero misses in his film catalog right now. He has zero, including this one. He does a fantastic job directing this film, because he's great at storytelling and world building. And I love this world of Wakanda that he built. This is his stamp, and this is his world that he's built and brought upon to us. And he's done a masterful job bringing about this world and how the world of Wakanda, how they're moving forward from the loss of their king and the loss of the Black Panther, because they're really in a state of loss and don't know how to really move forward as a nation. And so that was great. Ryan Coogler did a masterful job. As you can tell, he's learned a lot from that first experience directing the first Black Panther movie. That he's done an incredible job with this film. He's learned a lot from filming his action scenes through to his camera work, because that was a bit of a concern for me, is that I wasn't the biggest fan of the action in the first movie. So going into this one, I was curious to see how he would evolve and grow with the action scenes in this film. And the action scenes in this film and the CGI were beautiful. They were all beautiful. Whether that be scenes of visiting the underwater world of Talocan, that was beautiful. Like I said, he's very fantastic when it comes to world building in his films. He is great at that. And I love the world that he built and the action scenes that he's filmed throughout this film. They were phenomenal. It was overall just a fun, thrilling ride. And with this film, it's not a typical MCU film that you normally see with this one. You don't get the corny jokes, the typical MCU humor, and that kind of tone with this film. No, the Black Panther movies, they're able to stand on their own as opposed to the rest of the MCU movies. Yes, you could tell that they're in the world of the MCU, but as far as an MCU movie, they kind of feel like they stand on their own, and that's just my personal opinion. That's just me. And I really feel that way, and I love that. Now, is this a perfect movie by stance? Not necessarily. There are very minor negatives that I have with the film, and I'll go into a little bit of detail with them. I'll start with the runtime of this movie. Now, the runtime is, like I said, it was 2 hours and 41 minutes. Towards the middle of the movie, you really do feel the length of that runtime a bit. You really do, in a way. Because you're sitting there, it's a little bit of a slow burn, which that can scare some people a little bit. And you really feel that slow burn in the middle of the film. But I get the direction of the story that he's trying to tell with that. But it does get just a tad bit clunky just towards that middle area. And there is like about 15 minutes that I'd probably shave from this film. 15 to 20 minutes to make the film a little bit more tighter and a little bit more cohesive, to where you're not really feeling the runtime, because you can feel it somewhat throughout the middle second act of this film. So that I would just cut the film down just a tad bit. And the action scenes, I was singing the praises of it, but you know, it's like you come from one action set piece in like the middle that I thought was fantastic, that takes place in Wakanda, and it brings about the flooding of Wakanda as we've seen in the trailer, so no spoilers there. But I feel that third act, final action sequence was a tad bit dull in a way as compared to the middle act's action set pieces. Because I feel the previous action scenes were a lot more better and well made than the final act. And I don't know if that's just me, but it's probably some people will agree with me that the final action set piece was not as great as that middle one, because it was big, it was bold, and it brought a lot to the film. So I do feel that the third act action set pieces were a tad bit in a way, but it didn't take away from my experience watching this film as a whole. And my final little nitpick was, it goes into Namor. Now, we somewhat understand his reasoning as to why he's doing what he's doing and why he's singing the way he is, but it was just a tad bit weak in a way. Just by a tad, because it's like we get it, we understand it, but it was not strong enough in a way. I'm doing my best to try to elaborate on that point without spoiling it, because I do want you guys to experience on your own and get your own opinion of it. But his motivations, like, I understand it, but I didn't fully understand it at the same time. Like, I feel there was a different way to go about it, and where I would understand even more if they just changed that up a little bit. But those are just minor nitpicks within the film, because I have nothing but overwhelmingly praise for this movie. I damn near enjoyed it. It was sad watching this movie, and you know, watching this film, there is a little bit something missing of this film, and that's obviously a big glaring hole of Chadwick Boseman passing away, unfortunately, and we don't have him no more in this film. So that's the it factor that this film is missing. It's missing the Chadwick Boseman it. because him as an actor, it's like I said, he just had a presence about him that he really brought. Like, he was a star, man. Whether dating back to him playing Jackie Robinson in 42, him playing James Brown in Get On Up, like, he really had that star power and act to him, and he's greatly missed to this day. And it's very sad and unfortunate that we're not going to be able to watch another performance of his again in a movie. So, despite all of that, I do feel overall they did deliver a very emotional, heavy, impactful film that's going to carry this franchise moving forward. And I can't wait to see more of these films, because overall I thought this was a damn good movie. The MCU, they closed off Phase 4 on a very high note. And this may not be too high of a bar, but this is easily the best film of the MCU out of the entire year. As a whole, this is one of the standouts of the Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I cannot wait to see more of this franchise going forward. And I cannot wait till the next time that we're able to visit Wakanda again. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I'm probably going to give this on the fish scale a 4.25 out of 5 fishes. 5 for this film. This is a masterfully, wonderful, emotional job that they did with this film. And I cannot sing this film's praises enough. There is one mid-credit scene to this film. There's not a post-credit scene. So guys, don't worry. You don't have to sit through all the credits. There's just one mid-credit scene of this film. So go on out, go watch this film in the theater. Please, thank you guys for sitting here and watching this review with me. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your days. Go out and watch Black Panther Wakanda Forever and enjoy the rest of your days. I will have a spoiler review coming out soon down the pipeline, and to where we're going to go in depth about the spoilers, and that way I'm able to explain and elaborate more on the positives of the film and the little minor negatives I've had of the film as well. But overall, you guys, thank you so much for being here, watching my first video, my first film review on this new journey and this page that I'm doing. And I cannot wait to be doing this more with you guys. So you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you all soon. You all have a great one.